All right, hello again and welcome to Module 3. So we are still focusing on how to design and deliver a comprehensive curriculum so that you enjoy a stress-free and successful year. And we have been focusing on what is a curriculum map, what the purpose of a curriculum map is, and then we moved into looking at different considerations that we needed to use when we design our curriculum map. We were also focusing on Module 2, where we went a little bit deeper into the components of the curriculum map and what we need to do to create that curriculum map. So we're still in that design phase. And today we're going to go a little bit deeper. So today we're going to take our homework and we're going to work with one unit, and we're going to start to develop that into a cohesive unit that we'll be able to use to provide instruction to meet the grade level standards. All right, let's get started. So obviously we're not live, but it's still great to be able to be here with you today. This summer, there's lots of exciting things that are going on. And one of the things that we're doing coming up here next week is to do our annual fish camp. I'm excited about that. What I'd like for you to do is to share in the comments something that you are excited about doing this summer as well. And we'll come back and look at the comments and see how everybody is doing and what your plans are. All right, so we know that not everything revolves around school, but we do take some time to start some of that planning. So if you could take care of any distractions that may cause you not to focus today on our presentation, then that would be helpful. But do know that you can always go back and review the video. You can have all of your questions answered, and that you also will have good clarification of everything that we're learning. Some important dates to remember. Today is July 13th, Module 3, and we're going to focus on developing a unit of adventure. So we're going to focus just on one unit, but you would use the same process for all of your units. Again, the trainings are available through next Friday, July 22nd. And after that, then I will take the trainings down and I will put them on the Digital Teacher Blog Academy in the course library. Today, we're going to focus on Module 3, developing units of adventure. So you will have clarity on how to develop units of study based upon your curriculum roadmap that you've developed and any additional considerations for your specific teaching context. This is an implementation challenge, which simply means that as we go through the course together, we are actually implementing what we're learning into action. And by the end of this course, you will have a completed unit that you will be able to implement in your classroom. You'll also have a complete curriculum map that you will be able to revisit and revise and continue to work on throughout the school year. One of the things that you'll need to make certain you have is your curriculum design workbook. And today we're going to look at pages 8, which is where you'll be able to also type in some notes. We'll look at page 9, and I've started a sample that I'll share with you at the end of our section here, but we're going to be using this page here to get our thoughts down. We're also going to take a look at pages 10 and 11 and page 12. Alrighty, so page 11 and page 12, we're not going to really focus too much on right now, but those are going to be pages that you will be utilizing as you write down your thoughts and you engage in some additional planning. So let's go ahead and check in. If you have any questions at this point, make certain that you type those in the comment box and I will go back and review those questions. And today we are going to take a look at our success criteria. We're going to focus on these 4 different areas: cross-curricular planning, aligning standards and content, plan instructional sequences, and then, yes, some additional tools and resources that you'll need to complete your curriculum map. So this here is a sample. Yesterday, your assignment was to take the year at a glance, to take a calendar, and to go in and fill in as much information as you can for this coming school year. You'll see here I started with August. That's when our students go back to school, and we do not have school in July or June, so I did not put anything there. However, I did go ahead and start writing down some of the assessments we have coming up, when they are, and I wrote down kind of a flow of the curriculum, the different programs that we use. So this is not something that's complete at this point, but I did want to go ahead and get something on here so that way you can see what a sample would look like. Again, these can be as in-depth as you would like them to be. All right, so we're going to move into that cross-curricular planning. So the page that you're going to be looking at here is this unit design. And when you look at this page, you'll see that there is the at the top you have an empty box that you can either type in or you can write in. And there are additional boxes here on the side and then one in the center. So we're going to talk about things that we need to include with this unit design and focusing first on our considerations. So one of the things that you want to consider when developing a unit is what do the students need to know at the end of that specific unit. So when you're looking at the prior page about the year at a glance, we're just going to choose one unit to focus in on this design here. You'll actually probably have 6 or 8 units that you'll be designing throughout the year, but we're just going to focus on one of those right now. So what do the students need to know at the end of the unit? What is that big idea or that enduring understanding? What is it that you want the students to walk away with to understand at the end of this unit? You'll also have some essential questions. So these are questions that are going to be thought-provoking that students will need to answer as they are working towards that enduring understanding or that big idea. What do students know about the content? Currently, remember, a curriculum map has needless repetition, so we don't want to go and teach information that they already know. We want to take them from where they are and move them forward. One way that we can do that is simply by asking questions. Another way we can do that is by making a technology game, and students can answer questions on that. So there are several different ways that you can gather information about what the students already know. We also know about the KWL chart. So what do I know? What do I want to learn? And what did I learn at the end? And that learning at the end, that piece oftentimes gets left off, but that's the piece that you want to use at the very end of the unit. Then we're going to be looking at integrations. You'll know that there are several boxes on this form. So as I mentioned in last class, when you design a cross-curricular, an interdisciplinary, a thematic unit, students are better able to understand what the content is about and how that content applies to them. Whenever you are doing interdisciplinary planning, instead of looking at the surface, heard the term where we teach a mile wide and go an inch deep, right? What we want to do is to post hole. We want to make certain that we are providing instruction that's allowing the students to dig deep into the content, have time to process that content, and have time to demonstrate their learning. And we can do that easily when we think about cross-curricular, thematic, interdisciplinary planning. And so that's what we're going to focus on. I want you to think about your local resources. What are some places in the community, your parents that you have in your classroom, any other school resources, business resources that you can use to help with this unit design? Also, what are some virtual resources that you have, whether it's a web quest or a virtual field trip? What are some technological resources that you have that will help you reach the goals of this unit? Remember, those goals are going to be those standards that you're going to be teaching, and that's going to go back to that enduring understanding and those essential questions. And then when we look at the learning, before you begin your unit, the actual implementation of the unit, you want to get a baseline assessment of where your students are academically so that you can take them from that point and move them forward. And also, another thing to consider are different learning intelligences. There are 9 different learning intelligences, and Howard Gardner has some great research on that. But if you are teaching the students and you're not able to hit the different learning modalities, then it's more challenging for the students to actually obtain and process that information. Additionally, students are less likely to become engaged and motivated in the learning. okay? And we want to engage and to motivate. And then I also want you to think about when you're doing your unit design, when are times that you're going to do whole group instruction, when are times that you're going to do small group instruction, and when are some opportunities that you would have some one-on-one instruction. So those are things that you need to consider as you're developing the unit design for your overall curriculum map. All right, I hope that all makes sense. If not, you know where we can put some questions in those comments. All right, this here is a sample. This is not completed. Obviously, I don't have my enduring understanding and my essential questions up there, but I do have, you see the different blocks. I have one block for reading, one for writing, one for grammar. I have another for science, social studies, math, health, and then the fine arts. Technology is a piece that we always tie in, but technology can be tied into all of those different categories. So that's the reason why we don't have a specific box for that. You'll see that in the very center, I have my unit title. My history doesn't begin with me. And that's where I wrote down that I have a web quest that I need to update for the students so that way they can partake in that web quest experience and learn more about themselves. So when I've done this unit a few different times, and the last time I did this unit, I did it as a project-based learning unit, and it was a lot of fun. The kids really, really enjoyed that. My favorite way to teach is interdisciplinary and the project-based learning. So sometimes you can use a project-based learning format. Other times you would use more of a traditional format, or just the different ways depending upon your pedagogy on how you would deliver the lessons. Okay, but it's really important that you have a big idea or an enduring understanding, and then you have those thought-provoking questions, those hows and the why questions, those thick questions, to get the students thinking about the content and how it applies to their own lives. All right, so how are we doing so far? Hopefully everything is making sense. If you have any questions, go ahead and put those in the comment box below. And let's move on to the second part of our module, aligning standards and the content. All right, so we know a lot about standards now based upon our last two modules. We know that there is grade level, content, and why do we integrate the standards? Why do we want to integrate the curriculum? I've kind of shared a little bit about that. It's meaningful and it's purposeful. It's more cohesive. Students make more connections. What are the advantages? The students are more motivated and they are more engaged in their learning. And as I shared also, that's very cohesive. So these are the benefits of incorporating an interdisciplinary design into your overall curriculum that is supported by those standards. All right, so how are we doing with this? Lots of information, and I feel like at this point you're going to start taking everything that you've been learning and putting it on paper, so you will be able to, again, process that, and sometimes it's that doing that helps us engage in that processing. Let's look at this third part. So this one is about planning instructional sequences. We know we've already spoken before about making certain that you build that foundation before you add on that next layer of learning. And we want to make certain that we are not needlessly repeating information that the students don't need to know. All right, so we know that planning instructional sequences, the first thing you need to do is know your learners. What are their interests? What is their learning style? What prior knowledge do they already have? We know that there are different instructional groups that we can use to facilitate learning. We can use that whole group, that small group, and that one-on-one, okay? We also know that we need to differentiate. We need to differentiate the learning because not all of our flowers bloom at the same time. So we have pre-teaching, we have reteaching, and then we also have accelerating. For students that are having a hard time with understanding some of the content, it's a good idea to do some pre-teaching of that specific content. If they don't understand it, then that's when you come in with some reteaching. And for those students who are fly in, they know what they're doing, and they're ready for that next bit of information. That's when we need to be accelerating. So when we are differentiating instruction, we are really teaching to the gamut of all the students' needs that we have in our classroom. All righty, here we have the 3 different steps that I've outlined so far. Step 1 is the year at a glance, and that should be completed. From the year at a glance, then we design the unit. And then from that unit, then we start looking at the monthly calendar. And on the monthly calendar, you just start start with the weeks. This is what we want to accomplish this week. We're going to read the story Because of Winn-Dixie. We're going to get the 5 chapters read or the 4 chapters read. We're going to practice on questioning and connecting reading strategies. We're going to look at some writing strategies, summarizing with that as well. We're going to complete the math lessons, and the math lessons are going to tie into our overall content by using some graphs, some word problems that will help the students understand, and using the graph and the word problems, that's going to incorporate the math skills that we've been learning. Okay, so you're going to take this unit design, and then it goes to the calendar. Remember, we always plan a unit between 4 to 8 weeks, and my happy number that I like is 6 weeks. All right, how are we doing? All right, any questions? Put them in the chat box. And then finally, there are some tools and resources. So some tools and resources that will help you as you get to this next phase are your district program, your supplemental programs, okay? Supplemental, lots of times teachers, they go to the store or they shop online and they find something else that they like. Teachers Pay Teachers is a great resource to use as well. But all of that is supplemental to the district approved program. And virtual, okay? So what are those virtual resources that we have? Those local resources, the community, all of that. I have supplemental in there twice. I don't know why. But all of that is going to be part of creating that unit design and then moving that into the monthly calendar. Office supplies, Post-it notes and pencils. You will love those Post-it notes because you can write down your thoughts and then you can just pick it up and move if you need to, if it's not in the right place. And then here is where you're going to start getting that weekly lesson planner. Okay, so let me go back up to this page before. There we go. So again, review, right? Step 1, you're at a glance. Step 2, we're just writing one unit, an interdisciplinary unit. You take the information from the interdisciplinary unit, and then you use your program, your teacher resources, and you start mapping out your 4 to 8 week, 6 weeks, right? Your 6-week calendar. And then from that point, you are ready to actually write your lesson plans. And that's where we are right now. All right, any questions? Please put your questions in the comment box. And again, our success criteria, we are focusing on cross-curricular planning and what that means and why it's important, how we align our standards and that content, and why that is an important piece to our unit. Then we looked at the instructional sequences. Remember, everything is building upon the other. And then we have our tools and our resources. Don't forget your parents. Parents are a great resource. Also, your students. Your students are a great resource, especially if they have lots of experiences in different areas because they've had other opportunities your other students haven't had. So don't forget those. Remember, progress is not always measured on paper. When you're thinking about assessing, what are other ways that you can assess besides a paper and pencil? Okay, what are some things the students can perform to assess? Remember also that learning is a path, and not everybody's path is the exact same. Keep those things in mind whenever you are planning your unit, and then if you get to the end of the unit and there are some students who need some reteaching, that's totally okay. All right, so as I said before, not all flowers bloom at the same time. Tonight for your homework, I want you to start thinking about that unit design. So choose one unit. Go ahead and start writing some thoughts down. We want it to be an interdisciplinary unit if you are an elementary teacher. If you are a middle or high school teacher, then what you can do is to write down the different components to your topic, if it's science or social studies or math, whatever it might be. But what I'd like for you to also think about is how can you tie in reading and writing into your unit? So even though you're teaching math, what can you do to continue teaching reading and writing? So make certain that you have a reading and a writing, even a grammar box on this interdisciplinary unit design map that you have here at step 1. The reason is because those skills, reading, writing, and your grammar, even the oral language, all of those skills can be taught every single place. It can be taught in science, in social studies, in math, in health, in technology, in art, in music, whatever it is. If you're teaching drama, you can still teach those same skills in that area as well. Okay. After you have your unit design figured out, and it may not be 100% perfect right now, which is totally fine, mine's not, then you're going to move into step 2, and that's starting to put everything down into those weeks. So you kind of determine how much content you have, look at your calendar, when do your breaks come, what else is happening on your calendar, and then figure out if you're going to do a 4, 6, or 8 week unit. Then step 3 actually happens in module 4. All right, and these are 2 pages here that we didn't talk about. However, they are available for you in your workbook because the main events, what's important to know right now, and things to do, and also monthly planning notes. So your homework, choose 1 unit to take through the planning process. Align the unit standards and the content. Remember, look at the program, look at the standards, and think about what you're teaching and which ones are you going to focus on. Reflect upon your learners. Know who your learners are. Know what their needs are, what their learning styles are. Know the experiences that they've already had. Know all of that information. Know if the student has language because the student is a multi-language speaker. Know if the student has an IEP. Know if the student has an IEP but is for speech and they need to have more practice with that oral language development. So the important thing is just to know your students, know your learners. And then brainstorm some lesson ideas to connect the learning standards to the content. Okay? Lots of times those lessons are already outlined for us in the teacher's manual, but what you can do is to embellish that so that way you're also meeting the needs of the learners through the different areas. All right, step 1 and step 2, planning resources. And the last modules tomorrow, module 4, we're going to begin starting with assessing learning because we know that we need to assess learning to drive our instruction. We're going to take a look at aligning that standard with that task and some task analysis when we design those tasks. And we're going to just break it down, okay? And then we're going to talk about what's next. So those are the focus areas for tomorrow in module 4. Again, thank you for attending today. This is our 3rd module. Did you find value in today's lesson, in today's module? If you did, there may be another friend who will also. So please share and invite them to learn more about this resource at the links below. And again, I will not do a live at noon tomorrow. However, I will post the last module for you to review and continue developing that curriculum map. My mission with this digital teacher blog is to provide a space for all educators, private, public, homeschool, camp counselors, even those who are in the business sector, who are in charge of the training and development of the people who work in the business, is to provide a space for all of us to communicate, to learn, and to grow together. And this training series that I have about curriculum design is just one piece of that. Through the questions, the participation that we all engage in our group, we're going to continue learning from each other, trying new things, and continuing our growth as an educator. So I hope that you're finding value in all of this. And I would love to have any feedback or any questions, things that are going great, questions that you have. Together we can problem solve and come up with some great answers for you. All right, that's all I have for you today. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. This is a wrap. Bye bye.